Hi everyone, Flaming Footy here and welcome back to another interview on the channel. And today guys, we're going to be continuing my 3-game match reviews. In today's review, we've got 3 games from the Saturday to cover. There was 4 games on Saturday. The first Saturday game was included in the Friday night one. And now in today's one, we have got the 3 later Saturday games. So Collingwood vs West Coast, Richmond vs Western Bulldogs, and Fremantle vs GWS. These are all very key games as well. And they're all going to mean a lot to where these teams can be. And crucial early on in the year, it really does matter about who you're getting your points up against, and how much you are winning or losing by as well for percentage. So anyway, let's go ahead and hop right into things. Now, this game was an absolute nail-biter. Collingwood losing 2 weeks in a row. Maybe it's due to their inaccuracy, 10-14-74. This is probably what cost them the game. West Coast 14-3-87, making the most of their shots. Now, this game was very close, extremely close. Now, one thing that I do want to talk about, though, before we get into the worm, is their last quarters, Collingwood. They do slip away in the last quarters against they did Geelong and West Coast, and also their brand of footy. They do go quite fast. They do look to attack. It can cost you games of footy sometimes if you're making too many turnovers, and it also can hurt you by you using your tank and that you're not going to have enough to come back later and play another quarter of footy. And the Pies, they were pretty much down for that first quarter, down for the entirety of the first quarter, and they weren't necessarily out of it. It was only a goal, the difference, but down in the first quarter, second quarter was up and down in favour of West Coast. Third quarter was all Collingwood. They made their charge. Fourth quarter, just a few crucial goals by West Coast sees them win, and the Pies are left to bits. They kick 1 goal 4 in the last quarter, another bad last quarter. If you add them up over the last 2 weeks, their last quarters are gone for 1-5-11, which is pretty horrible. West Coast, they get their first win of the year at an unlikely time. I wouldn't have thought that they would have got their first win here, especially away from home, considering how bad they've been. They were still missing a lot of their team. 32 disposals for Nick Dacos. He's really making a name for himself. Same with the fancy 126. 3 goals for Josh Kennedy and Willie Rioli, leaders for West Coast, and 9 tackles for Jamie Elliott, and I believe he was subbed out of the game. Now, if we have a look, Brody Grundy also pretty close with 124 fantasy, and then Dacos, Crisp, and Witherden getting in there as well with 107, 100, and 100 respectively. Now, goals behind: Ginnivan kicked 2, Myercheck kicked 2, Darling kicked 2, Ryan kicked 2, and then there was multiple goal kickers. The one by Waterman, the bouncer, that pretty much determined the game. Then Darling slots one through to seal it. Now, Crisp 29 touches, the other day cost 28. 27 for Witherden. I know Neil, he had himself a pretty decent game with 24. We have a look at the tackles: 6 for Lipinski and Grundy, next best. Marks, 10 for Duggan, but we do talk about Jeremy McGovern a fair bit. Well, I don't really actually talk about Jeremy McGovern, but a lot of people do, and it's his intercept marking which does it all the time. He takes 8 marks, hit-outs. Nick Natanui is out. 33 hit-outs for Grundy, 26 for Natanui, 5 for Dixon, 1 for Cameron. But you can see that Grundy, he is brilliant ruckman. Now that we have some team stats, disposals, pretty even on the disposal terms. Collingwood using more handballs, get the run and flow going. Now, Collingwood were more efficient inside forward 50, but again, if you were to kind of go goal behind ratio, no. And then hit-outs, clearances were pretty even. Turnovers was more in favour of West Coast, but both teams were turning over a lot of footy. This was West Coast were in front for more. Now, this was not at the MCG, so I'm not sure if we could really call this a typical Collingwood home game. It was almost on neutral venue. We did see at the MCG last year that Collingwood tore West Coast apart, and I thought this was going to happen again, and I think a lot of us did actually think this was going to happen again. Not to be. West Coast taking out a 13-point win to win their first game of the year. So we had the 2 6:55 games. I put this one in first. Richmond versus Western Bulldogs. Richmond 15-9-99. Western Bulldogs 7-19-61. Now, it's been a problem for 2 weeks now with the Western Bulldogs. They're scoring 7-19 is an absolute horrible score. If you turn that around and you kick 19-7, you would have smashed the Tigers but not to be. 2 years in a row now, the Tigers take control of the Dogs at the MCG. The Tigers, this was their real complete game. They looked really good, and coming to Adelaide next week to play the Adelaide Crows could be interesting. I feel like at the MCG they are a much stronger team. One of the strongest teams in the competition at the MCG, could really take any team there, and they could probably beat them. Now, again, if you're taking a Melbourne there, that's a little bit different, but really, you could take a Sydney there, you could probably beat them. With the form that they've been in at the MCG, they're looking pretty good. 15-9-99 plays, 7-19-61. Now, for Western Bulldogs, they should have won this game. There was no reason why they should have been losing this game. And the Dogs, it just sums it up. You see the accuracy, you see the goals. They didn't really get. They got 7 goals for the entire game. 42 points from goals, and then 19 more. It is a very disappointing game. Now, for the Tigers, though, they were superb. First quarter, the Doggies led. Second quarter, Tigers. Third quarter was even until the Tigers broke away. And then final quarter, the Tigers just broke away and really got the deal done. Shai Bolton kicked, definitely goal of the year, I reckon. I'm already putting that one in. It's goal of the year. 37 tackles for Dunkley, 4 goals for Lynch, 131 fantasy for Bailey Smith, 7 tackles for Dow. That's Thomas and Dow. But the player that was ready to go for the Tigers, 130 fantasy for McRae, 129 for Dunkley. So the top 3 fantasy getters were all Dogs players. 125 for Short, 114 for Prestia, 107 for Bontempelli, 105 for English. He's in some good form, he's English. 104 for Dale, 102 for Rioli. So those are all the players that got above 100. 2 goals, 3 for Bolton and Norton. 2 for Revolt. 2 goals, 2 for Revolt. He equals his brother, not his brother, cousin, I think they said, Nick. Disposals, though, on the ground. 37 for Dunkley, 36 for Smith, 34 for McRae, 33 for Bontempelli, 31 for Dale, 35 for Short, 30 for Prestia, and then you can add Daniel, 26. So they were getting the touches. Again, it was like Port Adelaide against Hawthorn. May not be making the most of it, though, the Dogs. And then 6 tackles for Nankervis and McRae. McRae does do it every single week. 11 marks for Dunkley. Broad was pretty good back as well. Hit outs, though, we have a look at that. 26 for Nankervis, 21 for English, 8 for Bolter, 2 for Revolt, 2 for Norton, and 1 for Dunkley. Yes, and 1 for Bontempelli as well. They did throw Bontempelli in a little bit. Now, you can see disposals was in favour of the Dogs. They were getting more disposals. They went inside forward 50 more times than the Tigers. Their efficiency inside 50, again, goal behind ratio would be pretty poor. That would just be shots. Free kicks was favoured in Western Bulldogs, and they still didn't pull out the win. Clearances was in favour of the Bulldogs, except hit-outs. Yeah, it was really interesting. And the Dogs, they led a little bit, but the Tigers, they were just a better team. But the stats do show that it was actually reasonably close. If the Doggies had made the most of their chances, they could have won. But, yep, the Tigers, their senior players stepped up, and they get the job done. Now, 2 years in a row, we have had very similar games between these two teams. Both played at the same venue, Optus Stadium, and very similar scores and very similar margin. Now, this was the second 6:55 game of Saturday night, and it was Freo taking on Giants, and I had Freo, I tipped them to win, and they did actually do that. They did more than what I expected. They won by 34 in the end. They took it out convincingly. There is a little bit of problem for the Giants. There was one player that really stepped up, and I'll go over them in a minute. 13-10-88 to 8-6-54. Giants just weren't really applying too much scoreboard pressure in that final term. You can see that's where the Dockers ran away. First quarter was relatively even. Dockers having the better, though. They were a little bit inaccurate, but they fixed that up by kicking 6 goals straight in the last term. And the Giants had a goalless last term, so 6 goals straight. That's pretty good. Then, yeah, second term was relatively even as well, just in favour of the Dockers. Third term was even in favour of the Dockers. And then final term was all Dockers, and they got away and they won the match. Now, there was one player for the Giants that stood up, and that man was not Toby Green, it was Tom Green. Toby Green, of course, not playing, but Tom Green, he's a star. Will Brodie, 37 touches. He is making his career here. He got thrown out of the Gold Coast Suns, came to Fremantle, and he's having a very good blast at the moment. Nathan O'Driscoll, 2 goals. Travis Collier, 2 goals. Michael Frederick, 2 goals. Harry Himmelberg, Jesse Hogan, Tom Green, all with the 2 goals. And talking about that man, Tom Green, he was sensational. He may have been a little bit quiet, but he did kick 2 goals. Brayshaw did put a hard tag on Green as well. 127 fantasy for Brody and 8 taggers for Sukowski. But it was just a very good game for the Freo Dockers. If we have a look, Andrew Brayshaw still got the 110 fantasy because he does it week after week. Nathan O'Driscoll 109, 107 for Taranto, 102 for Mundy. He was pretty good. And if we see where Tom Green was, he only got the 78, so he was a little bit quiet. If we have a look at goals, yeah, that's not really many multiple goal kickers actually, 2 being the highest. 32 touches for Taranto, 30 for Mundy, 29 for Cumming, and then 26 for Brayshaw. As I said, he does it week in, week out. And then Whitfield as well, 25. He is a regular ball getter. We have a look at marks, 9 for Whitfield, 8 for Logue, 8 for Perryman, 8 for Cumming. Tackles, 6 for O'Driscoll, Schultz, Brayshaw. Schultz has been having a good couple of last weeks as well. 31 hitouts for Bruce, 27 for Darcy, 8 for Lobb, 7 for Riccardi. And that will bring us to the end of that. Now that we have a look at the team stats, it was quite scrappy for a little bit, but Freo did manage to open up the game and really blast away in that final term. Disposals was all in favour of the Freo Dockers, same with inside 50s. If it's inside 50, the Dockers were pretty good. Free kicks was heavily favoured, 42-16. I think that's one of the biggest counts I've seen. So free kicks heavily favoured in favour of the Fremantle Dockers. So maybe the Giants just either A, the calls were horribly wrong, but I did see the lack of discipline from the Giants was pretty poor. And again, new rules, it can really cost you 50-metre penalties and all that. So yeah. Hit-outs, clearances were all pretty even. And yeah, that's pretty much going to be it. The Dockers were in front for pretty much most of this, for most of this contest. But they were pretty good, the Freo Dockers last night. They were very fantastic. I feel like they are looking in finals contention still. So here's what we have had so far of the rounds. Here is what has happened. Make sure to go and check out the other round reviews. Other match reviews. Where I go over the first 3 games, and then match reviews will be coming again tomorrow with these 3 games. This one here, Hawthorn St Kilda, this is going to be probably the best game of the round, possibly. Again, probably one of the harder ones to tip. Having a look at the ladder so far. Melbourne are the only club. Melbourne are the only team, the 4-0 club. Carlton will probably join them if they win today against Gold Coast. Freo are 3-1. So are the Lions and the Cats. And the Blues are 3-0. Swans 3-1. Then you got the Hawks and the Saints 7-8, fighting to go 3-1. Both of them. Collingwood, after their loss, they go to 9th. 10 for the Tigers, 11 for Gold Coast, 12 for the Crows. So again, how they go today against the Bombers will be critical. 13 for the Giants. The Dogs 14th. 15 West Coast, 16 North. And if Essendon win today, the Power will be the only team that are 0-4. So interesting stuff here. It'll be interesting to see how it goes. So thank you guys all so much for watching. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you guys will never miss another video on the channel. Thank you guys all so much for watching. So bye everyone. Flaming Footy out.